I am your host, Carrie Scollon, giving us different perspectives on where we are and where we want to go on our journey. Thanks for being here, and I look forward to spending some time with you.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to another session of the Founder Series. My name's Carrie, if you're not familiar with that, but thank you for tuning in. I have a beautiful guest on today. Her name is Lilly Wang, and she is a quantum success coach. So, Lilly, welcome. I am excited to dive into this topic with you, and I'm really excited to hear how you explain quantum success because it just sounds incredible to me. And I can't wait to hear what you're going to teach us today.
Well, sounds good, Carrie. I'm so excited to be here. I know that you're so good in directing conversations and, you write your books and you have your guest writers as well. So yeah, I'm really excited to be here.
Thank you. Well, I am. So we've been getting to know each other over the past few months in the group that we're in. So I've got a little bit of inside knowledge into what you do, but I would love for our audience to know because it says you get them to where they want to go faster. Is that kind of what the whole vision of your work is? And you call yourself a spiritual consultant to entrepreneurs and leaders. So we got lots to dive into here. First, I'm going to ask you the question, how do you describe what spiritual is to you? Because I think there's always a misconception of what it means. It means different things to different people. So I'd love to know, let's start there. So
Okay.
You're a spiritual consultant.
Yeah,
Tell me
great
about
question. Yeah, great question. For so many years of my life, I hid that aspect of me because 20 years ago, that just it wasn't seen as anything formal enough to be talked about in public,
that. I agree. Yeah.
Yeah, so it was so hidden. But as you know, Carrie, over 23 years ago now, I started learning with spiritual masters,
Mhm.
and these are the masters who, by looking at your arm, by looking at it and thinking about it, they could physically expand your arm physically,
Yeah.
which is like what,
It
right?
is. It is.
It's like,
crazy.
yeah, and I don't know if you guys have seen these movies, but when I was little, because I grew up in Europe and I am Chinese, so I was very lucky because my parents tried to source some Chinese movies, and every summer I got to watch some to develop the language, right?
Yeah.
And in those movies, people, I'm in a hotel, by the way,
Yeah.
so these hotel mugs. So these spiritual masters, if they looked at a cup, they could move it across the room, right? Because
Yeah.
thoughts create things.
Right.
Right? So if they
Yeah.
think about expanding your arm, they have created the physical reality of expanding your arm.
Yes.
And if they think about moving, my very lovely hotel teacup across the room, they can do that. Right?
Yeah.
Which is, it's so
mind-boggling.
it is mind-boggling, isn't it?
Mhm.
And it's what we all are doing, knowingly, unknowingly, and unconsciously. It's just because so much of the world is more cut off from source and cut off from the quantum side of life than we are connected.
Mhm.
So for most people, thoughts create things can go as far as if I want a good parking spot at the grocery store, right? This is level 1 of when you discover manifestation. Everyone practices this one, right? You might get a good spot and you're so grateful and how magical. So that certainly counts. It's just eventually when you develop so much more, your thoughts create things faster. So as far as my coaching goes, then, you want a better relationship with your team members. You want to serve more people, right? You want your business, your services, your book, your products to reach more hearts and change more households. We do that, which is a lifetime's work, and we start you revving you up so that you can start really feeling like you're achieving that within a couple of years because thoughts create things.
Right. And so your basis is on the spiritual teachings, and it goes so far back, doesn't it? Like I think that's what's the beautiful part is all of these things have been around forever, but it's just becoming more and more mainstream where we're realizing the power that we have, right? And for somebody to put the word spiritual, I'm so glad that that's just being accepted now as it's almost becoming norm rather than the not. Because before you probably felt like you weren't taken as seriously if you said you were like, if you put the word spiritual in there, some people just automatically would have written you off. Like she's
Totally.
too woo-woo for me and I don't know where she is. But now it's becoming like, I know for me, I've always felt like I was a spiritual person. And that was never in the way of religion. It was just in my beliefs and spirit and being guided and trusting my intuition and trusting so much of that. It's only been in the past few years where, like you said, our thoughts, like they're so powerful. Like we have to be so aware of what it is we are thinking and putting out there, right?
Yeah.
It's
And the awareness is huge, right? So that's the mindset work. And then, we can call it whatever we want. I may even switch the words of how I named the second part, but the second part is a spiritual slash subconscious slash healing work, because the conscious thoughts that we have, yes, absolutely create our results. As you
Right.
said, we have to be so aware. Yeah.
Yeah.
But the other half of it, which is actually a far larger chunk of our results, is the subconscious, unconscious thoughts we have.
Right.
Right. So that means Susie grew up a middle child. She didn't experience any trauma at all. However, because of their family situation, her dad was busy, her mom was busy or preoccupied with her eldest, with the youngest. Susie's subconscious imprinting now is somehow or other, I'm not important. So I'm not important, I'm not important, I'm not important. So that is going to follow her through everything in her life, except consciously she's doing mindset work, journaling, all the right things, and that's helping absolutely. But Susie still is nowhere near close to her potential. Why? Because she hasn't done the deep spiritual healing.
And she may not even know that that is a subconscious program, because is it true then that the subconscious, and I've heard different people talk about it, but subconscious is like 95% of what our programming is. And
Yeah,
5% is our conscious, right?
exactly. Yeah. When I teach this, I'll say the huge caveat is there's absolutely no way we can measure it. So take these numbers with 7 grains of salt,
Right, right, yeah.
Any of us know, yeah. But in
Right.
my experience, of helping so many people, I would say really the mindset stuff I give them is very helpful. But when they progress further and they're, stronger in their mindset and their ego is not as loud and not as scared, and we start doing the healing work, oh my gosh,
Right.
that's when a whole other world opens up for them.
And that can be a really scary thing for a lot of people.
Yeah, because how many people, especially if you're successful, but no judgment, like anyone, but especially when you've been successful, you've had to carry a lot of responsibility, right? You've had to not rely on too many people because you're the one at the top. So
Right.
as that individual, how often are they going to walk around saying, my name is Susie, I was a middle child, and I wasn't cared for that much? Like that's
Right.
just weird, and you're not going to be taken seriously by your board.
Right, right. Yeah, exactly. So they either push it down, right? And they just have a whole different persona that they're not even acknowledging that piece of them. So it was someone else I was talking to as well. And she talked about um, accepting all these pieces of us. Like we're not just this or that. We've got all of these pieces that make us who we are, but it's really not saying, I don't want to feel that way anymore. It's acknowledging that feeling and that subconscious programming of, like you say, Susie, it's a perfect example. Acknowledging it, that is there, and then you can do something about it.
I totally agree. Yeah. And when not everyone is willing and not everyone wants to go that far, and that's okay. But for my
Right.
clients who are long-term clients at this point, right?
Yeah.
They've all ventured into this other side of life, right? The healing
Mhm.
side of it. And I say
Mhm.
to them, listen, I really want you to know that none of this is bad, because, and also my style is I never want to, people say it's your programming, so we're going to reprogram you.
Right.
I just find that those words are so severe. Like they're
Right.
reprogram. I
Yeah.
don't want to reprogram anyone.
Right,
Right?
right. So,
Like
so
you
what
are
words would you use there?
Yeah, very good. What
Yeah.
would maybe healing, because we are
Mhm.
healing, but we're
Mhm.
not completely taking those aspects of you out, because if we did, and this is what I say to my students, if we did, you would not be you,
Right.
right?
Yeah. So
You
you're
would not
just
be you.
bringing out more of you.
Yeah, we heal the sadder part of you, the things
Yeah.
that are totally sabotaging you,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? That are stopping you and having you procrastinate. We heal all of those so that the other parts of you, more of you exactly, can flourish.
Oh, I love that description. I really, really like that because I've used those words too, the reprogramming, because but it is it feels very
Robotic.
mechanical. Yeah,
Yeah.
it does. It totally
Yeah.
does. Now that you put it in that perspective, and I would also like to talk a little bit about, because a lot of people don't think they need to be healed, or that there's not a lot of trauma. So healing is also a word that can really activate people. It's like, well, I don't need to be healed. Like, I'm not doing the inner child stuff. Like, that is ridiculous, and I'm far from that. But it's like bringing them back down to, like, well, let's just take a look. Let's just see. Let's just see what's underneath there. But like you kind of pointed to, there's some mindset work to do before we get to that next level. Would you say that?
I would say that exactly. You heard me right. The reason is again because yeah, these words healing, programming, subconscious, either
Yeah.
it's too woo and it's sometimes been carried out by people who maybe can't cause transformations, right?
Hmm.
The people who are running businesses and like just doing amazing things are like, well, it would be a waste of time to deal with
Right.
that because,
Right.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
got that stigma. Yeah. And then
Yes.
the other thing is people who do walk around saying, I'm Susie, I'm the middle child who wasn't important, tend to be a little bit difficult to deal with, right? People are wary of because like, well, what are you upset about now? So
Right.
right? So it's like what you said. It's so most people, especially if you've created success and all those amazing things, you've had to kind of suppress it because
Hmm.
what other avenues has society given you,
Right.
right?
So when you do suppress it, so even like you said, very successful people, do you think all of us at some point get to a certain level, and then it's really hard to go to the next one if we haven't dealt with a lot of these
A
underlying? Okay.
100%.
So that's where
I
you help people break through then.
Yeah, that's more the long-term clients who want that. Prior to
Yeah.
that, the mindset stuff is often sufficient to help you break through, but the bigger breakthroughs are the more healing
Okay.
aspects.
So
Yeah.
that's why so somebody that coming to you, that's where you start, as the mindset piece. Kind of
Generally,
assess where they're at.
yeah,
And
because generally very few individuals on earth are the combination. And I know this is black and white, and of course life is black and white, yeah,
yeah.
but just to save time, yeah.
Yep.
Let's
Yep.
stereotype a little bit to save time, okay? But generally, most people are not, they're successful and they want to take a lot of ownership. That already is really rare, right? They want to take ownership. They
Right.
know it's up to them,
Yeah.
right? They already are like, coach, my team isn't listening to me and it's not their fault. It's me. Will you help me? Nobody says that. I
Yeah.
spent 6 months to teach them how that is, for them to trust that I mean what I say, that they can depend on these lessons and that there's
Yes.
actually change. So that takes a
Yes.
whole, right?
Yes.
And it's like, right? And then what we discover is, oh, but why do you avoid giving direct feedback to them? Because that was the root cause of it. But what's the root cause of that? Oh, because although you grew up in a happy family, you were the youngest son. And then somehow in your family, your mom was too tired by the time she got to you, even though she's such a wonderful mother. Nobody ever wants to say those things because
Yeah.
they'll feel like they're the worst child ever.
Right.
Evolutionarily programmed to not say those things.
Because you don't want to hurt somebody
We don't want to hurt somebody and we don't want to be perceived as difficult
or weak.
or weak. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
that's another
Society
big thing
doesn't give
too.
you avenues to deal with it. So
Yes.
again,
Yeah.
you suppress. So most people don't come to me saying, Coach, I'm the fourth born person. I don't give direct feedback, and then
Right.
somehow I get mad. No, they usually need 6 or 12 months
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
really stay at themselves and fully be authentic. And then it's
Yeah.
like, okay, let's do the healing because
Yeah.
you really trust me now, human to human. I will take you to
Yeah.
places you've never gone, and it's safe. It'll help you.
Right. And that's where the relationship building comes in, because you have to be in a environment that you feel safe, that you feel you can trust, because no one's just going to open up like that, or very few would, unless they've hit a wall and they're so done and it's just like, let's dive in and get this Like,
There-
there's usually a process to
There's a
that.
process. I
Yeah.
actually do attract some people who really hit a wall and their business has not moved in 10 years,
Yeah,
despite
and they're
doing
ready.
well. They're ready, yeah. But even then, they don't know what healing means. So they're
Right.
ready, but it's still a
Yeah.
process.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's why I think it's so important that we have people out here like you that can help walk somebody through this, because this is hard stuff to do alone. You can read the books, you can do it, and I've tried it. I mean, I've done that. But to have somebody who's been there and can help you get to that next level, like, I just wish more people took advantage of it, because it can, like you said, it can get them there way faster. Like, we don't have time. Like, let's go. I want to live the best life ever. What's going to get me there quicker? It's always about something inside of us, but maybe we can't see it and we don't know how to access it. So we have people like you that help us get there.
Exactly. And
I
also
love that.
people, they've accessed therapy or they have done inner child work or
Yeah.
tarot cards or whatever other people offer, and all that's fine. It's usually those things, if they do heal you, which some of them can,
Yeah.
heal you while helping you double your company. Do you know what I mean?
Oh,
Like it.
good
So
point.
yeah, so
Yeah.
there's some there can be quite a bit of validity on those things,
Right.
So I'm very different from a therapist, but I don't think therapy is bad per se. I don't think you're getting an angel card reading or whatever you want to do is bad per se. It's just that you can do some of these things for years and you can start feeling better. Absolutely.
Right.
I've just never ever heard anyone say while they do those things that those things also consistently get you actual, physical results that you want in life as well.
Right. And yeah, I always think about just going to the next level. Like,
Yeah.
we tap out at some point. And I don't think there's anybody that has come through life unscathed. Like, if we just made that the norm, that people were like, not that we have to go looking for things, but if you're not feeling like you're living up to your potential, that's where the help is needed, really. Right? There's some people, like, and we love them all. We need every type. That's what makes the world go around, right? We have people that they're happy the way they are. They do not need to dive into anything. And I'm like, thank you for you too. And then there's some that are just like I was, probably. There was a missing piece, something that I felt like there was more, but I didn't know what it was. I couldn't put my finger on it. When I finally dove in a bit, it was the limiting beliefs. It was those things that were going on, the stories I was telling myself, and then I could get to the root of it. But I
Absolutely.
mean, it took time.
It
That
does.
took a lot of time.
Yeah.
So,
It takes your bravery, right? And then it takes the people guiding you being good at what they do,
right.
right?
Yes. Yeah, well, that's the other thing, is there are a lot of people out there doing it, but you have to really find the one that works for you, and to not be afraid to go, okay, I think I'm going to look elsewhere. Right?
Yeah, exactly. No, some people, I mean, let's not focus too much time on this, but some people have the best branding and marketing, which is
Right.
amazing.
Yeah.
But their skill level in that area is not as high as their marketing would have one believe. And
Right.
I learned that the hard way, but hey, that's fine. You make more
Yeah.
money. It's
Yeah. I just think it's like anything. You have to shop around. You have to go to try different things out, try different coaches out, try different avenues and venues and modalities, and, like, just most people, I think, coming into our worlds, though, are open-minded
Yeah.
like that, right? And you also don't want to have a client that is going to waste your time as well as theirs, right? Like, let's find something that we can work together. You're not just going to take anybody. You want the right people who are going to do the work.
Yeah, and I think on
Right.
that topic, this is, a lot of people doing this work, they learn the hard way, and I certainly
Right.
have as well,
Right.
which is, but once you sign an agreement and people are committed, it's so horrible how how we are as humans now. It's almost as if they don't sign the dotted line and they don't pay, they will not do the work that will make their life better.
Right.
Think
Right.
about it. Isn't it so ridiculous? Because at the end of the day, anyone doing me doing this role, the money's cool, but I'm not taking it with me when I'm done in my 90s, right?
Right.
It's not actually the most important thing. At the end of the day, it's humanity getting to be uplifted. And it's
Right.
so incredulous that they cannot be committed unless they pay.
Right.
So, and so sometimes people read that wrong. They're like, oh, you just want them to pay. No, it's like, I have given really good advice, really good coaching for free. And sooner or later, usually by the third session, they can't take it anymore and they will hate you and they will block you. Each and every time it's like that. But when they pay, it's like, wow, you doubled your income, right? So it's like, it's black and white. It's a world of a difference.
So
And
interesting.
isn't so interesting, and it's
Yeah.
for their life because
Right.
do you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
and so no, it the funny thing is like you said, oh, because you gotta only accept the people who work with you well as well. And to me, the funny joke is they will work with me well when they sign the dotted line. That's
Right.
the ego. When they
It's
say it's like
commitment, right?
I'm in and I'm in. But at
Yes.
that time, oh my gosh, the ego will get them out. Will get
Yeah.
them out for all sorts of reasons.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I believe it. I see it. I've done it.
Yeah.
I was
Have
one
it
of those
all.
people that did all the free webinars and I signed up here and I signed up there and then it was okay, then I'm out. But once I paid, it felt like I was paying them to commit to myself.
Yep. Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
why do I have to pay somebody to commit to myself? Well, that's what it takes sometimes.
I
Because
think
then
so.
you've
And
got
you
more
know,
skin in the game or whatever you want to call it, but you put more effort into it, and you're the one that gets the results. So that's the crazy thing. Like, I don't know. Anyways, I love it. So I also want to touch on this. I want to get your feedback on this. So the things that I've learned about manifestation is there's also a feeling that you need to come from when you're quantum leaping, or I'm not sure what you use in your world, but quantum is just such a great word. But where does the feeling come in? Do you have that as part of your process? Or is that just a level that's down here and then
and
you know?
I'm up in the stratosphere.
Right. I don't, like that's kind of the beginner, right? Like for me, it was like that's what I learned at the beginning. Is like I think I even reworded it because it was like feeling is a secret, imagination is the power, and gratitude is the fuel. That's what I say. But
Okay.
where, like, I would just love to know where you are on. I mean, I know maybe you can. Do you have like a step by step kind of
Yeah.
first, like what would you say to our viewers who were just kind of starting down this road and what's actually possible?
Well, if you're just starting down this road, feelings are quite important. But this is my indirect answer. Okay.
Yeah, okay.
So, people who just start on this journey tend to really emphasize gratitude,
Yeah,
which is awesome. Right? It's
yeah,
awesome.
yeah,
And that's not a bad thing because I'll just give you a little contrast and a little like added stuff.
right.
So in the last couple of years, I've supported, I think, three vice presidents of like hundreds of millions of dollars companies, like totally corporate, pretty high
Yeah,
up there,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
And I teach them gratitude. So gratitude is not beginner. It's just I teach it at all my levels, right?
yeah, I
Yeah.
believe that. Yeah, for sure.
It's
Yeah,
it's always important.
yeah,
But when you start out, because of the tons of information out there that focuses on gratitude, that's what people pull towards, right?
right.
That's what
Okay.
people are, that's what pulls them in. That's
Yeah,
great. So feelings are important. If you can have grateful feelings, that's great. However, this is what most people miss. And this is why, I've had clients who've been doing this work 10, 15 years,
yeah,
Abraham Hicks, manifestation,
yep,
even webinars and all that, courses, and they still don't get it. Why? Because when you're consciously grateful, is that helpful? It is. But the conscious gratitude is one part of your manifesting. The
mhm,
other stuff is the unconscious stuff that you haven't dealt with yet,
right.
right? So
So it only goes so far?
it
Is that what
only
you
goes
mean?
so far,
Yeah,
right? It'll get
okay,
you a magical parking spot.
yeah,
Okay, it
yeah,
might get you a bit of a better service at the restaurant.
right,
It might, clear your parking ticket a little bit faster. Some administrative challenge might be fixed a little bit faster. I mean, Those are the little sprinkles on top. They're great.
Yeah.
But how's the actual quality of your muffin? Like, you worked on the sprinkles, how's the meat of it all?
Right. Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's what most people are missing. So, and I know just a few minutes ago, you and I chatted about how usually takes 6 months or 12 months people before they do the deep healing with me. That's true. But over the years, I've sped it up a little bit.
Mhm.
So what I've started doing with clients sooner, and this is good for anyone, and also if you're a beginner,
Mhm.
is rather than, or yes, in the beginning, focus tremendously on the gratitude, because that's going to elevate your frequency, and that's amazing.
Yeah.
But and it's hard to do alone, but maybe I'll plant the seed and then you can work
Yeah.
with your mentors on it, right?
Great. Yeah.
Which is, how am I actually feeling?
Mm.
So that's a question I'll ask, usually, even with my amazingly smart, intelligent, self-aware students. They'll be like, I feel fine. Like, that's not an answer because your results are not fine. And so the starting point was how you were being. Okay. And that for people
Okay.
is just like, what is this? Like, are you reading my mind? Like, what is, right? Because that's how we're conditioned. I'm fine.
So you're
Everything's
saying
fine.
one thing, but you're
Yeah,
feeling something different.
exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I have, again, my clients are amazing, but I'll give you some client stories so that you and if
Yeah.
you're listening as the listener, you can relate to it. So you're not alone. I have phenomenal clients, but let's say one of them is actually jealous of somebody in the industry doing the same, having gotten further.
Okay.
So I'll say, what part of you is maybe envious of that? And their automatic response will be like, I'm not jealous, I'm doing fine. Right?
Yeah.
And objectively, she's doing fine because her business is making 250K a year. You're not struggling, life is good.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But my job as a coach is to really get you different results, even better results than you ever could have imagined. So deep down, you have envy. Let's just face it.
Right.
Just
And
say it.
yeah, so acknowledge it. It's
Yeah.
acknowledging that you have that. It doesn't make you a bad person. You don't need to have shame around that because you're envious of what somebody else has. Yeah, I love this. I
Yeah.
love this. Yeah,
Right?
I
And it's to
get.
me. It's not you proclaiming it as you walk into
Yes.
a networking room.
Yes. Because
But
you gotta own those.
you got to own those so
Oh,
we could
those are
heal it. And here's the funny thing, Carrie. You know what I just said? It's not like you're proclaiming it as you're entering a
right.
networking room. Yeah.
Right.
Except until you heal it, you are doing exactly that.
Yeah.
Or subconsciously proclaiming
Right.
it as you enter a networking event. And all of those subconscious feelings are manifesting on your
Yeah.
behalf.
Yes, of course it is. Of course it
Yeah.
is. Because that's what you're putting out there, even though you might
Yeah.
not even realize it.
But millions of people think they're manifesting. And of course they are, but they really think they're creating big change. But most of them consistently, though, sustainably over a 10-year period are not because they're working on the surface, the sprinkles.
Yeah.
They're journaling they're reading wonderful quotes. Some people post quotes all day, but in 10 years of having a business, they've not made money.
Right.
It makes me so sad. It makes me
Yeah.
so,
Frustrated for them.
for them because
Yeah.
that's not the way. And then the ego gets involved and they're like, but I'm so grateful and I'm so wonderful. You are, but there's deeper stuff, and your
Yeah.
feelings are actually characterized so much by those deeper things that no one has taught you is safe for you to say out loud.
Right. And it's embarrassing to even say them to yourself, to admit them to yourself, right? I mean, we've all had it.
Yeah.
We've all had those feelings. And it's like, oh, I would never share that because that makes me look bad. Or somebody might think like it comes down to what people are going to think of us. It's that judgment piece too, right? That's why
Yeah.
we stay in that shame. But what I've learned is once you get it out, it doesn't have that hold on you as much anymore, right? Like you shine a light on it and then all of a sudden it doesn't feel as dark.
Exactly.
Right.
And then why you're actually feeling a certain way. So you believe in you more. The reason why
Right.
people don't believe in themselves as much as they could isn't isn't because their potential is actually limited. No. People don't believe in themselves and their potential and the possibility of them getting amazing results. Why? Because they say one thing when they really feel another. That
Oh,
lack of authenticity is lowering your self-esteem and lowering your faith and trust in yourself.
yeah. I think you've just nailed it. I think you've just nailed it right there. Right in that disconnect.
It's a huge disconnect.
And they speak what they want.
Yeah. And they think they're manifesting.
Right. But there's something that's holding them back and they can't voice it. Because they can't accept it within themselves. They don't want to.
Yeah. And then
Right.
nobody teaches them this stuff. So
Right.
in our society, you've got to really be like on your knees, lying on the floor upset, and then you get therapy.
Right.
Right?
Right.
But what's the in between? What's the
Yeah.
whole, you've been stuck, your results could be higher, you're not greedy, you deserve it, you don't know how to get, like, what's all the whole in between 0 and 100?
Right.
Right? So yes, the short answer is feelings are important for manifesting.
If you're honest.
If you're honest, exactly.
Yes.
Here, I'll give you an example. So one gentleman, when he first started with me, he was at about 300K, right? Again, life is good. He has several kids, but still life is good, right?
Yeah.
Right. And he would always, here's the thing, if you met him, you'd love him. He's social, he's respectful, he's genuinely kind, he's funny, all those
Yep.
good things that,
Yep.
he would be happy to have as personality traits. Yeah.
Right.
I love stories like this because I get the best stories like this. And when they're out in society, they don't get why they're not getting what they want. And any of their friends would be like, I don't get it. Right?
Yeah.
So he's just an amazing person, an amazing father, all of the right things. But as I got to know him more, and of course, there's no way anyone's going to reveal all these things in the first month because it's just not how we are as humans.
Right.
Yeah. But over the months, what I learned is somehow or other, he would get upset at his employees, even though he's such a reasonable person.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. And the reason that he would get upset at them was always out of this world unique. So the ego gets involved and says, but I'm still an amazing boss. I'm not a bad boss. I'm upset at them, but it's that particular situation. It's not a me thing. Okay. It's a situation. Okay.
Yep.
See how the ego gets involved.
Yep. Yeah. It'll justify it, right?
Yeah. So that has to change because change is scary. What if we try and we don't change for the better? And so again, this is where the deep healing came into place. And what I learned was, again, this is totally anonymous, so you wouldn't know who it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. What I learned is, although he came from a very happy family, I learned that he was upset that his mom would buy his siblings, his kids, so his nieces, nephews, gifts, and not his own kids' gifts of the same amount, because he made more than his siblings. Right? So once again, the ego says, but it's okay, air quotation marks. It's okay because she's just trying to make sure those kids don't miss out. Air quotation marks, it's okay. But can I swear on this podcast?
Yeah.
Okay, it's fucking not okay.
Right.
You're not okay with it. You're fucking not okay with it.
Right.
But you don't want to cause any drama. You don't want to be too much. And also you do make more money. So why get upset? But now you're stuck because you're expected to be okay with it. You think you're respectable and you're a wonderful son and you're a man or whatever, the conditioning is. So you're, air quotation marks, not upset. But deep down you're upset because you feel your mom is not prioritizing your kids as much as she is their kids.
Right. So it's not fair.
It's not fair.
It's
Yeah.
not fair.
So you can't yell at your mom because your mom is elderly, right? You can't yell at your nieces and nephews because it's not their fault.
Right.
You can't yell at your siblings because they're 50 at this point. Are they really going to make more money?
Right.
About Lilly coaching. No, I'm kidding. But they're not going to make more money.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like they're stuck as well. Everything is set. So it's projected. And so now with your employees, when they're not doing what you want, which by the way is a common thing, it is the most common thing that you don't get what you want through your employees. So we have to raise our emotionally regulated leadership. We must work on become emotionally grounded and stable so that we can handle the fact that they commonly just for some reason or other cannot in the first go do what we asked because they're another human, right?
Right.
So when they didn't do as he asked, he would retreat. He would get all avoidant because that's an avoidance attachment style.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
And he wouldn't be in full communication for 2 months. But then at the end of the day, you're paying them. So you're not in full communication. But then after 2 months, you're like, what do I pay you for?
Right.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. And this is all has, you've got to turn it around. And
You gotta turn
what
around.
part did I play in this? Why am I so affected by this? It's got nothing to do with the employee.
No.
I mean, it may, but in the long run, it's how he's reacting to it.
In the long run,
Right.
it's always how he is reacting to
Right.
it.
And
Exactly.
so now, because of this story, I need to hear, how would he heal that part about, because he's not going to go to his mom. He's not going to, does he just have to come to some sort of understanding within himself?
Yeah, it's a number of things. And, you know, a lot of people
I'm curious
have
because I've heard this before. So that's why I'm like, this is a
yeah.
great example.
I think for my high proximity coaching, I never follow a template. I'm
Right.
high intuitive, right? You know this.
Yeah, I
So
love that. Yeah.
yeah. So it's not like a one size fits all.
Right.
Right. Yeah. I think with him, what we did first, we did the lower hanging fruits, which is how you're communicating with your team.
Right.
Right. And when I say lower hanging fruit, it's not easy. Most
Yeah.
people don't do it. Right. But we really have to 10x your communication, get you to raise your self-led leadership. Right. What
Yeah.
that means is, for example, he has a few employees, but the one in particular, the one that's closer to him, does more things for him. When she's not really following your guidance, rather than just retreat into avoidance mode, right? Most
Yeah.
of us in business have an anxious mode or avoidance mode, and some people
Okay.
have both. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Now, in life, you may not have these issues at all. You may have a
Right.
0.1% of an issue, which is nothing in life. In
Right.
business, that's amplified to a 70% issue,
When you're in
right?
the leadership role.
When you're in the leadership role,
Right.
one's paying you money, you know, you're responsible for so much.
Yeah.
You put your hopes and dreams, you know, they're all at stake here. Like that's a lot,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Yes.
So when I
Yes.
use these words, you know, the ego can be like, I'm not anxious, I'm not avoidant, that's fine. But in business, I can
Yes.
make good money, you are.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
right?
Wow. So it's again, though, like you said at the beginning, that's just part of the
It's just part of the healing.
healing process. Yeah.
Yeah, because you know, the ego is really good, and especially if you're sociable, likable, you have friends, family, loved
Right.
ones, you're smart, you're successful, the ego will be like, I have no problems, because the ego wants to protect you because it's so
Right. Of course.
yeah,
Yes. And that's what I've said before too, is everyone's so scared of the ego, but it is trying to protect you from rejection, from all of that stuff. So it's almost like we need to make friends with it rather than just, shut that ego down. It's like just understanding it a bit more.
exactly. Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, in his case, we got him to learn, you know, your pattern tends to be avoidance because
Yeah.
it's better to avoid
Yeah.
than for you to have to actively face that she's not meeting your needs.
Right.
Your mom is having you feel like she's not meeting your needs. But
Right.
mom is 78 now,
Yeah.
right? So how much you can talk to her, absolutely, but you
Yeah.
probably are choosing not to because mom is old and fragile and you don't like you're not treating her like she is 50 anymore,
Right.
right?
Right.
So
So
that's
she's not going to change.
she's
You
not
have
going to
to.
change.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
The parents, my gosh, it's a never ending. Yeah. Anyway, so that's the trigger is the employee doesn't do what he wants. It's not just something you take at face value. Your deep feelings about it is always deeper and you're always more upset than you let on. Right?
Yes.
So we
Yes.
had to acknowledge that so he could see that and then in the future pattern interrupt. So next time, if rather than avoiding the conversation he needs to have with her, and that avoidance cost him 2 months of his life,
Right.
right? 2 months of no
Right.
progress. So now after
Yes.
2 months, you and I face it now, you're still at where you were 2 months ago. So we went from 2 months of avoidance to just a maximum avoid the afternoon. And tomorrow we start fresh and you face it tomorrow,
Right.
right?
Right.
So
Yeah.
if you just do the math, you know, when people are avoidant, and I think many of us are to some extent
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
business, right?
Yeah.
Avoided something for 2 months, now you cut it down to a day. Mathematically, how much
Oh.
quicker are your results going to come?
Oh, that's huge. But that, and I don't think that is just in business. I
No,
think a
it's
lot of people are avoidant in their everyday lives.
yeah, but I just say that so that their ego doesn't totally like start fighting with me.
And turning the podcast off is like, I
Yeah,
don't want to
yeah,
listen to her anymore. Yeah, no, forget it. And that's called avoiding. So
yeah.
if you're somebody that's listening that has just decided you don't want to listen anymore, you might want to listen because there there might be an attachment style that could help you. Just understand it. I think that's so much of this work in all areas. I think what I love about it, and I've been studying this stuff. Well, I mean, I turned 55 and I've been looking at this stuff since I can go as far back as like 18, 19.
Wow.
And it just fascinates me. I mean, nothing, well, I shouldn't say that. Who knows? Maybe I did get something out of it. I didn't practice anything. I've always been read it, practice for a little bit, then I kind of forget about it. And then so now that I feel like I'm like, it just lights me up so much because I see the difference that it can make in myself, how I feel on the day to day, and what that does for the people around me. Right. So you can make a difference. And, we've all heard that. Like, if you want to change the world, start with you. And I really, really believe that, because anything that we do to raise our vibration, to make ourselves happier, more settled, whatever those words are for you that you want to feel more peaceful, more, that is making a difference in employees, in your leadership, in our families. Like, so that's why I just want everybody to be on this spiritual journey that it's just so, I mean, it just raises all of us when we're all looking at these kind of things. And I just love how you worded a lot of this. It's made a lot of sense to me. Like, you've changed, like, sometimes somebody can say the same thing, but the way it's said, it lands. And so I really, really like what you're doing. I think you're amazing. I really, really do. I just love the way you come at things. And I also, that there is no one size fits all. Like, I think that's the craziest notion, when even for me, it's like, okay, well, what's my process? I'm like, well, we got to talk about that. Like, I have the process that works for me, that I follow very loosely, because that's just what I know. But that does not mean it's going to work for everybody. But we can veer and change and pull from here, and that works for you, that's going to be effective, because that nobody's the same.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
what you're doing is getting to the root of the issue. That's a big deal. That's
Because, this is the other reason why I do contracts. I don't do call to call, because you're in a contract, whether you love me or not, this moment is almost irrelevant.
yeah,
It's because it's just, we're here. That's it. Like, I'll give you my best, and you might have the best call with me today, or you might have a pretty good call with me today, but that doesn't affect whether or not you show up in 2 weeks. You
right.
still show up in 2
Right,
weeks.
because you did the contract.
Because
Yes.
exactly.
Yeah.
And this work, like those examples of how he had to realize his pattern,
Yeah.
that all those books for years didn't tell him,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And then he had to realize how to communicate in a way for her personality. Because
Right.
he has several employees, his way of making sure they honor what he needs has to be different. So then I do
Right.
processes for that. So then
Right.
he has to touch it, right?
Yeah.
Then when all of that is good and he feels good about that, he's like, oh my God, now they're advocating for me and they're doing things for me.
Yep.
Then we go to the family stuff, right? So
Right.
you see, as we're doing this in this process, his income may not have budged at all.
Right.
Hence the contract,
Right.
right? I'm never worried. Sometimes, usually at the 6 months, I let them come in for a year. I love that the most. Those are the students who really go far.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? But in the year mark, some things don't change. They don't change. They don't change. And I've just learned, trust the process. Always give them your best.
Yeah.
Don't depend. I've had to learn from my ego. Do not need anything from them. Do not need a single testimonial from it. It doesn't
Right.
matter. Just keep
Yeah.
doing the work. And you know what? Each and every single time, without needing anything, they surprise themselves.
Yeah.
They surprise me. The other day, I had a physician. He's been with me for a year and a half. Nothing changed, but I gave him my best. He was always humble. He always, just always worked on,
Yeah.
things we talked about. No change, no change, no change, no change. Boom, he landed a contract to triple his clinic size.
There you go.
And the inner work. So if you
Yes.
sign a contract and if you have no need for anything, you simply want to better yourself,
Yeah.
holy cow.
Yeah.
The world is your oyster.
Yeah, I totally agree. I agree 1000%. And you're worth it. I think that's the part for me is sometimes we don't think we're worth spending that money on, and you are, like, whatever happens from it, you just showed yourself that you're worth it.
Yeah.
And you shouldn't need that to know that you're worth it, but when you put something out there to do something for you that you think is going to better your life in one way or the other, I just wish more people did it. I wish I'd done it sooner because I was one of those people. So this is no judgment on anybody, but if you're listening to podcasts like this, you're intrigued and you're starting to open up to different ideas and maybe I will try that. That's kind of what I like to do in these podcasts is here's another perspective. Here's another option. Like just get curious. That's what I always tell people, just get curious. Like don't stay where you are if you're not happy. If you're happy, I am so happy for you. Like I love that. That's my goal. If you're not, then just keep looking.
Yeah.
Get curious.
And
See.
even on that note, because you said this a little bit earlier too, is like if you're doing really well, like, and you don't want to make any changes, but here's the thing. I think also in our society, to make a change, i.e., maybe see a therapist, maybe, do
Yeah.
this. We've been trained, so it's not any person's fault, but we've been trained that you've got to hit rock bottom to then go
Right.
to a therapist, right?
Yes.
So lots of my clients are very happy. Lots of my clients, think about the ones, I guess I didn't tell you, but some of them double their incomes, triple their incomes, and they're still with me.
Yeah.
They're they're very happy, but
because they're still learning.
yeah, because they're already with me. So like, oh, this will just keep giving me more. But until they met me and did all this work, they wouldn't have known.
Right.
So I think also when we're doing quite well, the ego is quite loud as well, because the ego says, we're not poor Susie. We don't need help because help is such a bad thing.
Right.
So what I really believe in is we don't hire people just because we're suffering. I mean, if you're suffering, please do it. You'll change your life. But like you said, you deserve it. You are thriving. You are successful. You are happy, and you deserve more because that is our human. That is that is. I'm going to say some personal things I believe in. That's God's gift to us. There is no cap. Right? You're happy and you get to deepen your relationship with your spouse.
Yeah.
Like think about that. You're happy and you get to feel more connected to your kid.
Yes.
Like you're happy and there's always another level, not because you suck and you should get to the next level. No, because you rock and you deserve the next level.
Yes. I love that you brought that up because there's also some guilt in that too. I felt that guilt for a long time. I'm happy. I've got a great life. I don't need anything. But I still felt like something was missing, but I felt guilty for actually wanting more. And when I got over that or through that, when I realized, well, I don't ever want to stop wanting more. Like this is exciting. This is what keeps me going. I don't ever want to stop learning. I don't ever want to stop growing. Like to me, that's life. That's what we're here for. So yes, thank you for making that point. Like there are some people that are happy and don't want that they don't want to do any of this stuff. But there are people out there that are happy and go, "Ooh, what could be even higher than this?" Like what
Sorry to cut you off, but like you're happy. Let's say I'm just gonna quantify with numbers a bit, right? So we're speaking. You're happy and your household income is 300K, amazing. So you take your wife and kids or husband and kids or whomever to a nice trip a year. But you're happy and we get you happier and you learn how to manage your customer feedback better. You learn to deal with little disappointments, which inevitably will show up in your life better. So now you take your household income from 300K to 450K. So now you take your wife and kids on 2 trips a year. So happy always can and should lead to the next happy. And every level we're at, there's the ego stopping us always.
Yeah.
I say, right, if you're happy and already grateful, that's great. But remember, if you're scared to go to the next level, that's not you. That's your ego
Right.
trying to stop you.
Yes, there's something there to look at.
Yeah,
There's something there to, why is this enough? Like, why, like,
exactly. Yes.
but so now you got me thinking about something else. So when we're thinking like this, and we're like, it's okay to want more, it's okay to keep growing, even if you think even if you're happy, it's okay to go to that next level. Is there ever an ego point where it's like nothing's ever good enough though?
The thing is to really open your heart up, which my mentor even the other day was like, nobody knows what you mean by that. I'm like, I know, I need different words.
Yeah.
But to really be connected to source and have that inspiration and manifest well, right? Again, using numbers, you listening could be making more or less, it doesn't matter. But if we took you from 300K to 450K, that's a great change. Great. That would have only been possible if you had some true joy, gratitude, thankfulness,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
So to really be able to get to the next level, it doesn't come from greed. It doesn't come from my life sucks, it's never good enough. I mean,
Right.
those things can be there because we as humans have our limiting beliefs, like I'm not good enough, I'm not gonna.
Right.
But there has to be a pretty predominant space of I'm willing to work on myself. Wow, I'm bettering
Right.
myself as a wife, I'm bettering myself as a husband, I'm
Mhm.
bettering myself as a leader. Like those are such genuine emotions.
Right.
Genuine emotions is what, on top of the work we're doing, is what allows you to the next level. So, in my experience, it's actually not really possible to continuously go up and elevate in your results if you're led by this isn't good enough, or I need to compete with others, or
Right.
I have to oppressively get better. No, it's never from
Right.
that. It's more from the positive side of it.
Okay. That's great. Yeah, I like that because it's sometimes we don't celebrate how far we've come because we're always, well, it's it'll be better when I get this or when my next promotion or when we reach that next 100K. But you're telling me that those people who seem to who are working with you, um, they're getting to that next level because they're actually in that joy. They are appreciating what they already have. So it's not to prove anything. It's more just because they're so, um,
Consumed with
yeah,
it's never because of that.
right. Yeah, good. I
It's
wanted to clarify that because sometimes it's just like you're just looking for the next high to keep that going. But when you're in that emotion and you've done that inner healing, you're already there. So that's just all of these just seems like a bonus.
It's
Like it's
just a
just
bonus. It's
bonus.
like I said, you're committed because you signed a contract. Really, that's what it is. But
Yeah.
anyway, when you show
Yeah.
up and do some work, you feel better, you feel more proud of yourself, blah, blah, blah. No material change, no physical change, no material change, no physical change. And I love how my clients do this. They always do it nonchalantly. They're like, oh yeah, I made an extra 200K. I guess I didn't mention last month. It's like, cool. It just kind of happens. And then,
Yeah.
yeah.
Because they're doing what it's the work, it's the inner work, isn't it?
The inner work. Yeah.
Yeah.
The other thing is, we say we're happy. And honestly, if we are, because it's much better to think we're happy than unhappy. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
But, just going back to the attachment styles there for a second, because previously we had an example of the avoidant attachment style,
Right.
right?
Okay. Yeah.
Let's say in our personal life, because no, I'm not a relationship coach, but every single long-term client of mine, their marriage has just radically gotten deeper and happier, you
Mm-hmm.
know?
Yeah.
So
That
maybe
makes
as an
sense.
yeah. Um, I'll use parenting. Again, not a parent yet, but so many of my clients, they're parenting. They're like, one person once said, I raised my voice at one of my teenagers the other day. I'm like, okay. And they're like, and I was so happy. I was like, how do you mean? And she said, well, it made me realize that I hadn't yelled at anyone for a year. So that's gross. You didn't yell at your kids for a
Yeah.
year
Yeah. That's great.
until you yelled at them once. You're like, oh my God, I've completely changed this past
Yeah.
year.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But as an example, again, this is total like blanket
Yeah.
generalizing
Yeah.
just as time.
Yeah.
Yeah. But sometimes people, maybe you might have a relationship with your kids, your adult kids, and it's great. But sometimes men and women, of course, but if you have a bit of an anxious attachment style, what that causes us to do is be overly focused on other people. So an anxious attachment mother can
Mhm.
think that she really cares about you, but to the child, it can be too much.
Mhm.
Or the
Okay.
child can get really stressed in the presence of the mom because the mom is hyper focused on the other. So if the child isn't smiling, the mom gets upset.
Mhm.
She never even acknowledges this. So if she
Right.
gets upset, then she'll be less patient with him or her in the next hour.
Right.
So that stresses the child out.
Right.
So a
Right.
lot of the times for adult children, teenagers and actual adults, they'll want to end up avoiding their parents. It's not because they're too busy actually. But the ego of the parent says, oh, they're 25 now and they care more about their relationships or their careers and they don't want to see me. Really, what the child is feeling is you're too stressful.
Mm.
And that's an anxious attachment thing. Yeah.
Right.
But nobody teaches us this. So the parent is left to their own devices.
Right.
They are the way they are. No one teaches them how to recognize it and heal it.
Yeah.
And then they feel more left behind, right?
Right.
With the empty
Yeah.
nest and getting older and aging, because that's hard. And then they complain to their kids, right? Have you ever heard of people, right? They'll
Yep.
complain that they never talk to me. But
Right.
that's an anxious attachment style behavior.
Right.
You
Oh my
actually push
gosh.
them away.
Yes.
Yeah.
And who, yeah, nobody teaches us this. Nobody
No.
does.
Or you
So
take, yeah.
sorry.
Or you take a course on this, but that's one thing, right? That's
Right.
not holistically. What about the other mindset stuff? So you can
Right.
take a course per quarter and do it for 20 years. It's just progress is too slow from what's out there.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
It's like you've got to incorporate a lot,
Yeah.
which can be overwhelming. So then
And
sometimes you
people,
do nothing then,
yeah, I know.
right? When you're talking about, I know we've probably been on here way too
I'm
long
okay
already.
for you have time. I have some time.
I'm just wondering about, because you've touched on a couple styles. So you touched on anxious attachment. Is that what's it
Anxious
called?
attachment style. Yeah.
Okay,
Anxious.
and avoidance.
Yeah.
Are there other ones?
It is more complex than what we've
Okay.
shared here,
Okay.
but these two tend to be the problematic ones.
Okay, that's good.
These are the problematic ones.
Okay, anxious attachment style and avoidance. Yeah, those sound like they might be the two top
These are the two top.
that
Yeah.
people deal with.
In business, we all have them. Every single client I've had, I can identify it for them, with them. And in life, some people have more of these,
Mhm.
but just to appease people's ego, I will say, you could have great relationships in life, meaning you're anxious or avoidant isn't too loud in life.
Right.
But that's loud in business. But absolutely in life, like even the parenting
Yeah.
example I gave you, right? This mother or father is like, I love you so much. I've done so much for you. Why don't you want to pick up my call? Yes, maybe a 17-year-old doesn't want to. Yes, maybe the student who first left you doesn't want to because they have all these new friends. But actually, in most cases, by the time they're 25, 30, they're not avoiding you because they're actually too busy. They're avoiding you because you're so anxiously attached and it's stressing them out.
Right.
But nobody say that to you, or they try and it becomes a fight, right?
Right.
We're actively in an anxious attachment style mode. We're not emotionally regulated.
Right.
Right.
So do you think having an anxious parent, anxious attachment style, almost feeds the avoidance?
It could.
That's what it sounds like. It's like, oh, these
Like,
two
oh my
are playing.
God. It could. And or if the child is in a weird way compatible with you, and not that the avoidant child isn't, not at all.
Right.
But
Yeah.
in some cases, unfortunately, when they're quite compatible with you, they mirror you more. So they become the anxious one.
Right. Right.
Yeah. It's really, really complex. It's the broad strokes explanation is this, but once I have the family in front of me, like I
Right.
can very precisely lead you. We'll figure it out quite easily.
Yeah, that's amazing. Can you imagine if these parenting classes were available to all of us before we actually had children? And I'm sure they were, but I certainly didn't know them.
They were, but again, sometimes it's such a it's this one little thing, which we talked about today, but what about all the other mindset things, communication things,
Right.
emotionally regulated things,
Right. And all the things that I may not have realized in my subconscious why I was reacting. So I may not have known I was an anxious attachment style until you get into the parenting. I mean, that can take a while to actually reveal itself too, right? We don't know what we're going to be like as a parent.
No,
None of us
and
do.
often don't know until they talk back.
Right. Until it activates something within you. And then it's like, oh yeah, for sure. If there's anything you want to activate you, it's your children.
Yeah, after you wipe their diapers for years, absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, I have three daughters, you know that, but they have been my biggest, best teachers I could ever imagine, because anything that was activated in me, I mean, no, did I understand that when they activated me? No. Now I can look back and go, ah, that's why I reacted like that. And now we can have those conversations.
Yeah.
Thankfully, we're able to have those, but that's the help of a therapist too, right?
Yeah. Oh, and that's,
Yeah.
it's wonderful. And even knowing why you're activated, I don't know if your three daughters are similar, but
No.
sometimes, oh, right? So if you know if they're anxiously or avoidant attached, right, then you know how to better blah, blah, blah. This is what I
Right.
teach CEOs as well,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Or we didn't talk about it in this podcast, but if you know their love languages, then you can
Yes.
respond to them,
I
right?
love that. Yeah. Thankfully I got given that book. I mean, they were babies when I got that book, but it really showed me just a little different way of treating them, really, because none of them are the same. And we all know that, but they each have a different love language for sure. That was a big eye opener for me, the love
That's
languages.
You got that book then, because
Yeah.
here's the thing, my parents sometimes, I see this in my clients too, they of course love their children, they love them
Right.
all, but the one that's compatible with them and has the same love language is easy for them. So
Yes, for sure.
they consciously favor that one,
Yeah.
but they don't mean to, and it's
No,
that it's just easy, because if you love words and they love words, then life is easy, but the other
that's
two
right.
feel unloved, and then you just feel rejected by the other two.
Absolutely. Yeah,
So
it's
yeah.
so true. It's so true because it's just easier. That's what that boils down to. No, whenever if I go to a wedding or my nieces and nephews, that book is one book that I give. That's a wedding present, because it's like you got to know each other's,
Yes,
because
yes.
because we tend to give what ours is.
Yeah.
Because that's what we know. It's like, oh, well, I know what that makes me feel good. So we tend to do that without realizing that that may not be theirs. So they're not getting the same thing.
Yep.
You know,
And to
they're
them,
not.
it's this, it's
Yeah.
complete. And
Yeah.
then if they do the healing work when they're 30, or some of my clients are in their late 60s, wonderful. But that's a whole lifetime of them not knowing.
I know. I think that's why it's so like, and maybe that's why I've got such a passion for this now, is because I see my girls and they're in their 20s. I'm like, oh, the things that you can learn,
Yes.
to just jump that much further, that much quicker. I want to give that to them, or just the opportunity. I mean, it's kind of like, here's the invitation, here's an idea, and then it's up to them, but I want them to know it's available. I want them to know that there's so much that can help. Like,
Yeah.
I just want them to live an amazing life and start dealing with the inner stuff, right? Like, and I'm here that I can actually be a advocate for them, healing things that I may have caused.
Yes,
Right.
yes,
And I have, of course I have. I'm a parent. I caused some of those inner child things that they're trying to heal. And I own that because I didn't know any better. Now I know better. So
Yeah.
whatever I can do in that way, then, but I'm also learning myself because they're teaching me. So
Yeah.
it's a beautiful,
I think
it's hard. It's hard. It's not easy.
It's not, but it's so wonderful that you're doing this work, because whatever you did and didn't do when they were 5 or 6,
Right.
it's great they're healing those things now. But I once heard someone say something. Someone says it would have to take so much for a child biologically to ever not want to speak to their parent. And I've had,
Right.
some of my clients, all sorts of ages, but 30s, 40s have not through my coaching, but their own decision to have had to cut off a very toxic parent or,
Yeah.
something. And I think about these things all the time, right? Because my business coaching is so holistic. And, it's because that parent never changed. So the
Right.
child finally at the age of 40 said, this will never get better.
Right.
But if they were 20 and that parent did the work that you're doing,
Oh, yeah.
it doesn't even matter. And from what I know about you, I'm sure you were a wonderful mother, right? But in some other parents' cases, like maybe they really failed quite a bit, but biologically, the child almost will never actually want to cut things off. Like we're
Right.
wired to always
Right.
want the mom. We want it,
Yes.
want the
Yes.
validation of the parent, right?
Yeah.
So all it really takes is whatever's past is past. It's in the
Right.
past.
Yeah.
All the 25-year-old needs now, all the 35, all the 45, all the 55-year-old needs now is that parent doing the work authentically, not
Right.
perfectly, just authentically.
Right.
And that'll change the course of both your lifetimes.
Yeah. I absolutely agree. I agree so much to that. And but I think that really did come to fruition when I was open to them, like, talk to somebody. Like,
Yeah.
sometimes it's not the parent they can talk to because we're the ones that have done it. And yeah, I thought I was a good mom. I joke about that. I'm like, oh my God, well, we'll be paying for therapy for the rest of their lives. Like, I joked about it thinking like, like my husband, I think we did a pretty good job. And then, but there's little things,
Little things.
and it's okay. We weren't perfect. We tried, we could have done things different, we could have done things better for sure, but we can't change that now, but we can certainly be there to acknowledge that I actually do remember that. I didn't realize that's how that affected you. Wow. Like, like I feel like it's a gift I'm getting that they're able to share those things with me. And I can acknowledge that, my gosh, that would have hurt. Now that
Yeah.
I can see that I can see why you have that, whatever it is. So hopefully, it will help them move forward and heal those things.
It will.
Yeah.
And you're doing you and you're advocating for them doing them. And then the rest is up to them.
Right.
So it's like you do all that you can. And
Yeah.
then the healthy, non-anxious method here is, and that's it. That's your
Yep.
karma for them. The rest is
Yeah.
their life,
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe they don't heal at all. Maybe in their
Yeah.
30s, they're like, wow. Then they hire their own person,
Right.
So, and then it's
Yeah.
out of your hands,
Yes.
and
So true.
right?
Yeah.
It's all next gen. You were doing so many things, amazing things now, and maybe they'll fully take it in.
And
Honestly,
maybe they won't.
I found maybe they won't.
Yeah.
That's why I just applaud people like you doing this work because you're setting the tone for them. But when they do it for themselves, is up to them.
That's right. And again, no expectation on that. And I'm not putting that pressure on them to do all the work. All I want to do for everybody, with my daughters as well, and with anybody that comes into my vicinity is, here's some ideas. Here's some ways that could possibly help, or different ways of looking at things, different speakers, that's all it is. It's just, here's a whole bunch of different things. I hope you find something. If you're looking and if you're looking, or if you want something, you want to make a change, or you want to be even to that next level of happiness. I mean, how fun are those clients to work
They are, yeah.
with?
What I found, not to finish this little podcast on a negative note because it's so sad, but what I found is a lot of times people in their 20s, I've had a lot of amazing clients in their 20s, more of them will tend to not renew, whereas my
Okay.
clients will tend to renew. And this I'm not attached to, but when
Right.
thought about it, it's made me quite sad, and then I have to unattach from that because it's not
Right.
in my hands. But I found in their 20s, the thing is, as we get older, our ego gets louder, right?
Okay.
So broad strokes,
Yeah.
generalization, right? A 30-year-old, when they hire me, they will work their breakthroughs, it clicks for them faster because they're like, no, 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 voice is not as loud,
Right.
right?
Okay. Yep. So they're not so set in their ways, do you mean? Where it's,
Yep, yeah. But the ego is also the same. The ego also gets set in its ways. So the
Right.
older we get, it also gets more like clenched in and like this is the
right.
way, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that is the case. And so what is it about these 20-year-olds? What I've found is although their ego isn't as big, their breakthroughs are fucking fast, man. Like fucking fast.
Yeah.
But I don't think they felt the pain of their limiting beliefs deep enough to after their 6 months, for example, group coaching or one-on-one coaching with me, right? They're almost crying, saying, "Thank you so much, you've changed my life." And then they want to go partying.
Right.
Right? A total generalization. I love all my
Right.
clients.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
I'm saying partying. I'm not saying they literally go party, but they
Right.
just want to like, it's summer. I'm gonna like, well, I'm gonna have fun.
Right.
And that makes me so sad because my wish for them is hopefully in their early 30s, they really come back to this work because
Yeah.
it's not too late. And it's never too late. I have a number of clients in their 60s. It's never too late. But
Yeah.
I'm saying, like you said, how wonderful their trajectory can be if they
Right.
just do some work now.
Right.
But
But even in that though, I mean, you've planted the seed. They have an idea of what it can
but it
do.
could- yeah.
Yes. So
It's not serious enough for them. So they've had some
yeah.
relationship issues and it's just not painful for them.
Right.
Painful enough. They're
Yeah.
they're sad in the moment, and then the next year they do the exact same thing
Yeah.
with a different partner, the exact same way, and they just don't get it yet.
Right. But do they have to go through some of that to actually get it though?
I don't
Like,
know, but I found for my clients a little bit older, and maybe now I'll be sorry that I said this because I love like 20-year-olds, you're amazing as well. If you do the
yeah.
work, you're amazing.
Yeah.
But I've just found somehow or other when you're clear on how painful this is, right? Or you're clear on how, like, this is us talking about relationships and love and
Right.
marriage, and all those things.
Right.
And then from a business perspective, you're clear that you've tried and you've tried and you tried and you tried and you're just not getting your next breakthrough. Man, that is painful.
Right.
Something
I
that-
see what you mean.
Your 20s, it's not happening, but
Right.
oh, it's summer. I'll put
It's
on a
not-
nice
yeah.
outfit. I'll take selfies with my friends, and I forgot about all the pain.
It's not that big of a deal at that point in their 20s.
Yeah, quotation marks, right? So,
Yeah.
I started this work in my 20s, and I think I was such an overachiever as far as pain goes. I mean,
Mhm.
all the pain that you could face, I feel like I faced in my 20s already.
Right.
So,
Wow. Yeah.
so I'm like,
And I was the other way. So I probably would be like your 20-year-olds you have now. It's like you're dabbling because it's kind of interesting. Okay, but I'm good. I'm good now. Like I got stuff to do. I've got
Yeah.
way better things because my life is not huge in responsibilities yet in my early 20s. So I didn't have that foresight to go, if I did the work now, that's my 30s are going to be even better. Like I didn't have that
we don't
foresight.
get it yet. I know,
Right?
we don't get it yet.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
when an anxious attachment leadership style is taking things too personally. By the
Right.
time a 55-year-old takes things too personally, they're hard to deal with. It's hard to work for them. It's hard to be married to them. Let's be frank, even though many of them are married, it's hard to be their child. It's hard to, but when I help them, their issues didn't start then.
Right.
Those same issues were there in their 20s, but in your 20s, if you offend a friend, you have 50 others.
Right. That's so
Right?
true.
You never get it. It's never you, it's always your friend.
Yeah. It's you know what, it's just to me that's just kind of life, right? Like when you have that first baby and you're so tired and all those other moms are saying, "Oh, just cherish every one of these moments," and you're just like, like I can't wait to get out of here. Like I can't cherish the moment right now. They're screaming, my life's been turned upside down, and it's just like, oh, just cherish these little, like they're going to grow up so fast. You can't see that when you're in it. Now I can see it. I couldn't see it then. I was just like, if one more person tells me that I'm going to miss this, you know what I'm going to tell them to do? Like,
Don't miss me.
I'm not going to miss this. Like, but you're in it. So I'm thinking like from a 20-year-old perspective and a new mom perspective, it was just like, people can say those things to you, but it's in one ear, out the other.
It's true.
For me, it was anyways.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, yeah.
It is
But we can see the benefits, right? We have the hindsight to go, oh my gosh. And you
Yeah.
were in it. So you did the work in your 20s, which is fantastic.
Well, no, I suffered a lot. I was an overachiever when it came to
Right.
my suffering. I lived in a car, you know, I did all the
You-
things.
You felt the pain. You felt more pain than some of the other ones who were coming in and then leaving, right?
Yeah.
That's what you're
exactly.
saying about they don't know the pain yet to keep them going.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah,
And the other
gotcha.
side is just like with your kids and you, when I was young, I had a father who took me to spiritual seminars, who
Right.
got me to meet these teachers.
Love
And he
that.
didn't expect me to do anything,
Yeah.
but it planted the seed.
Yeah. Opened up your world, right?
Yeah. So I think
Yes.
that's what we can hope for is each and every one of us doing this work
Yep.
is share it here and there. And of course, you with your wonderful podcast, you are sharing it.
Yeah.
So my biggest wish and hope for people is do it now. Do it now.
Yes.
If you do it now, you might retire your parents in 2 years. You do it now, you might have the most deepened, most loving version of your marriage in 3 years' time if you start now.
Yes.
Just
Yeah.
start now, no expectations, but you don't know, like, I have people who've been married for 40 years say that because of this work, they have the happiest marriage in all these 40 years, right?
Yes.
So whatever your age,
Right.
do it now. Do it
Right.
now because the rest of your life will thank you for doing it now.
Love it. I think I got to end right there because that was so good. That was so good. I'm just going to add when you talk about a 40-year marriage, I mean, that's two people, in my opinion, becoming whole again and then coming together. Like, what a beautiful relationship that is when both parties have done the work.
Yeah.
Like, wow, that's incredible.
My case, it's only the one party that's doing the work, my client. And that in their eyes was like, wow, we're so happy now.
Because that's been brought into the relationship by one person doing the work. Great, great, great to know. Because sometimes you think if only one's doing the work, it cannot actually make the relationship go this way because you're not growing together. But if you're doing the work and sharing it with and bringing those elements into your relationship, then it's not necessarily has to be that both are doing the work. So that's good to know.
It's because it's the caveat of it. It's the nuance here. So for example, the person I'm referring to who's been married for 40 years, who recently talked about his marriage improving, he holds space for her.
Right.
Right?
Yes. Yes.
He takes weekends off for her now. He didn't know how to do that before. He was too
Yeah.
stressed in his work.
Yes.
So these things, right? Or when a wife does it, and because I've lots of female clients, of course, she knows how to be free in the evenings now. She knows how
Right.
to ask for his help, right? That's a common thing for successful women. They don't even know how to ask, and then they get
Right.
frustrated and they think he doesn't care, but you don't know how to communicate, right? So she
Yes.
learns these things and give them a chance to slowly work with that, and then they both transform. So it's not like one person does the work as in I'm going to work out, I'm going to meditate, I'm going to grow my
Right.
business separate from you. It's more like
Right.
I'm learning how to hold space for you.
Right.
I'm learning not to take what you say and do personally.
Personally, yes.
I'm learning to be stress-free now, so I bring stress-free me into our
our
relationship.
home and our relationship. Yes. Oh my gosh. Okay, we got to stop because we could do this forever. So
Forever.
our message is start now. Don't wait until you feel like you've hit rock bottom. That's the hardest part, right? So many people feel like they got to wait. No, don't.
Yeah.
Do it now. You're worth it. You deserve it. I wish everybody could come to you, Lilly. So where can they find you? Let's end with that. Where can they find
Yeah.
you?
You can find me on Instagram. So my Instagram handle is at Lilly Wang. Lily is with 2 L's. So the LILLYWANG.
Perfect. I love it. Well, thank you. Thank you so much for what you do, making the world a better place one at a time. You're doing it and I love it. And your clients are doing it and they're making it better for all of us too. So I appreciate you very much. And thank you so much for being here. And for those of you who are listening, I hope you tune in again next week, and we'll see who the guest is. So thank you, Lilly.
Thank you, Carrie. And you're such a joy to talk to. Thank you for this conversation. And yeah, definitely follow Carrie and share this podcast with your friends and family, because what good conversations. I'm also glad the lighting was okay. I look dead because I'm in this hotel out of the country, but it worked out. We're
You look amazing, and thank you. I always forget to ask people to share the podcast. I always forget that part. So thanks for mentioning that. Awesome. Okay, thank you, everybody, and we will talk to you again soon. Bye.
Bye.